Okay, buckle up because this deep dive, well, let's just say it's not for the faint of heart. We're going deep into the early days of night vision, like way back, and some pretty creepy stories from the military.
Oh, this is right up my alley. You know I love this stuff. What kind of stories are we talking about? Like, what should I be picturing?
Imagine those grainy Vietnam War photos? Yeah, imagine those, but instead of just soldiers in the jungle, they're seeing something else too. Something truly bizarre.
Okay, now you've got my attention.
And get this, our main source for all this, it's a conversation between these two researchers, right? But here's the kicker. One of them, he's like connected to this whole thing personally, family ties and all that.
Wow, so we're talking firsthand accounts. That's
Huh?
amazing. It's like when you find one of those hidden archives, like a dusty box full of old documents, and you start reading, and it's like, whoa, this changes everything.
Exactly. And what they found in this case are these accounts of soldiers using, get this, red spectrum night vision goggles. And what they saw through those goggles, let's just say it really makes you question what's really out there.
Hold on, red spectrum. Now, that's something you don't hear every day. I thought night vision was always that, that eerie green we see in the movies.
Right. That's what I thought too.
Most people only know about the green phosphor night vision, the one that became
Right.
like the standard,
Yeah,
right?
yeah.
But before all that, the military was experimenting with red phosphor tech.
So instead of that green, it was red.
Imagine looking through these goggles, right? But instead of that washed out green, everything's bathed in this deep, unsettling red.
Now that you mention it, there is something about that red light. Like it's, I don't know, revealing something just beyond what we normally see. And our source, he described it as more of a direct view, like a clearer channel.
A clear channel,
Yeah,
too.
whatever was out there.
Okay, now I'm really creeped out.
And apparently, the image clarity with that red spectrum, it was even better than what we have today with our fancy modern night vision. Plus, there was this whole other layer to it, a heat signature view. Like you could actually switch back and forth between the two views.
Well, wait, seriously. They could see heat signatures, too. Why would they ever get rid of that?
Right. Makes you wonder, doesn't it? What if they stumbled onto something they weren't ready for?
It's like, when you're messing around with a radio, spinning that dial, and you suddenly hit a frequency you didn't even know existed, and there's a voice.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's like that. But instead of a voice, it's something else entirely.
And in this case, that something else, it wasn't exactly, shall we say, friendly? We're talking about soldiers, specifically helicopter gunners, reporting encounters with these terrifying entities, these things only visible through these red goggles. And we're not just talking about fleeting glimpses here. The details they describe, downright scary.
Okay, so we're talking full-on monsters here. Give me the good stuff. What do they see?
Imagine this. You're hovering over the jungle at night, scanning the darkness with these red-tinted goggles, and suddenly you see, well, imagine something straight out of a nightmare winged creatures, almost demonic looking, with these piercing eyes.
Okay, I'm starting to get chills.
And these things, they weren't just passively observing. They seemed to be aware of the soldiers watching them.
Wait, really? They knew they were being watched.
That's what they're saying.
That's even creepier than I imagined. Like, that suggests an intelligence,
Yeah.
An awareness that's, well, it's just not something you'd expect, not from whatever those things were.
It gets even weirder, okay? Our source, he says, these entities, these things, they would actually gesture at each other like they were communicating, like right there in front of the soldiers.
No way. Like, as if they were talking about the soldiers.
You got it, like they were the main attraction in some kind of twisted cosmic peep show.
Wow. I mean, I knew this was going to be good, but that's heavy.
And yeah, as you can imagine, these encounters, they mess these soldiers up, like big time. We're talking about highly trained military personnel, right? People who are used to danger.
Yeah, they see combat. That's their job.
Yeah.
But to have something like this shake them to their core, that says a lot.
I mean, can you imagine seeing these things through the goggles, taking them off, and poof, gone? Like, how do you even process that?
Seriously. Talk about messing with your head, right?
Mhm.
It really makes you wonder what kind of support these guys got. I mean, this is Vietnam, back when PTSD wasn't really a thing, At least not something people talked about.
Yeah, it wasn't like they could just go to therapy and be like, hey, dog, I saw giant winged monsters through my red goggles.
Right. They'd probably be shipped off to the psych ward.
Yeah, probably. And actually, our source, he says that a lot of the soldiers, they were never the same. Some of them totally messed up, discharged because of it. And get this, it wasn't just the soldiers who were actually seeing those things.
Oh, no.
His own father, the guy who was overseeing the whole testing program, he looked through the goggles once, just once, and it messed him up for weeks.
Wow, just from one look.
One look, that's all it took. It really makes you think about the power of whatever they were seeing, even with just that little bit of exposure.
It's like our minds, they're just not built to handle that kind of stuff, you know? Stuff that goes beyond our normal everyday reality.
Yeah.
Makes you wonder what would have happened if they'd kept using those goggles, you know? What kind of long-term effects there might have been.
Right. Like, did they ever even think about that? It's pretty wild. So, okay, we've got these terrifying encounters, soldiers freaking out, even the program lead is shaken up. What happened next? Did they, keep digging?
Yeah, you'd think they'd want to figure out what was going on.
Well, that's where things get even stranger. They shut the whole red spectrum program down. Like, completely.
Seriously, they just stopped. Just like that.
Just like that. Goggles gone, everyone told to keep quiet, and the focus shifted to the green spectrum night vision, the kind we use today.
Wow, that's a pretty drastic move. Makes you wonder if there wasn't more to it than they're letting on, right?
Our source seems to think so. He thinks our current technology, it's designed to filter out those unwanted perceptions, to keep us blind to whatever those soldiers were seeing.
Like someone decided what we're allowed to see and what we're not. Okay, that's kind of creepy when you think about it.
Right, like who gets to decide that? What else are we not seeing out there? It reminds me of that saying, what is seen cannot be unseen. What if they decided some things are just better left unseen, even if it means we don't get the full picture?
And think about it. If they were that quick to shut down this early program, what does that say about how far this tech has come since then?
Okay, now you're really freaking me out here.
I'm just saying, what if there are these top secret programs now, stuff we don't even know to ask about, seeing all sorts of crazy stuff?
All right, you win. You officially creeped me out. But you do have a point. What if we're only scratching the surface here? It's like, what if we're all living in the Matrix and we don't even know it?
Right, like, what if someone or something is carefully curating our reality?
Okay, now that's a whole other conversation. But seriously, think about it. All those UFO sightings, right? The ones where people say they saw something strange, something unexplainable, and a lot of times they're using night vision. You think maybe, just maybe, there's a connection there. Back to that red spectrum stuff.
It does make you wonder, doesn't it? I mean, we always hear about those blurry photos and videos, right? But what if it's not just about what we're seeing with our own eyes? Like, what if night vision, maybe it's amplifying something, making it easier to see these things, whatever they are.
That's what I'm saying. And our source, he claims he's seen some pretty strange stuff himself, even with modern night vision. Like military movements, exercises, stuff that just doesn't make sense.
Really? Like, give me an example.
He doesn't go into a ton of detail, but he implies that maybe, just maybe, they didn't get rid of the red spectrum tech entirely. Maybe they just, tweaked it, refined it.
So instead of shutting it down completely, they just made it more selective, only showing us what they want us to see.
Exactly.
Wow, if that's true, it really makes you question everything, What's really out there? What are we not seeing?
That's what this whole thing keeps coming back to, right? Are we really only seeing a tiny sliver of reality? Like, what if there's a whole other dimension right next to ours?
The possibilities are pretty mind-blowing and a little terrifying if you think about it too much.
No kidding. I mean, do we really want to know what else is lurking out there?
Maybe that's the ultimate question. We humans, we're naturally curious, right? But like we've been talking about with those soldiers, sometimes seeing too much can really mess you up.
For sure. Honestly, this whole deep dive, it's left me with way more questions than answers. And maybe a little bit of, existential dread.
You and me both.
Yeah.
But you know what? Maybe that's okay. Maybe the point of all this isn't to have all the answers.
Right. Maybe it's just about being open to the possibilities, even if they're a little bit scary.
Exactly. And who knows? Maybe by asking these questions, by exploring these strange corners of our world, maybe we're expanding our understanding of what's possible, even if we don't like what we find.
That's a good way to look at it. So to everyone listening, next time you're looking up at the stars, maybe think about this conversation. Think about what else might be out there, hidden just beyond our sight.
And remember, what we perceive as reality might just be the tip of the iceberg.
That's a good place to leave it. Until next time, keep exploring, and as always, happy diving.